everyone, and welcome back to PrepTalk podcast. This is another episode where we have one of Tutela's superstars with us to discuss his test prep journey. Please hear it up for Pragun Sharma. Pragun scored a fantastic 1590 out of 1600 on his SAT exam, and we know for a fact that this was not easy. It has been a hardship of years of tests, practice, learning, and whatnot. So, without stretching this introduction further, let's start a podcast. Hello, Pragun. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, thanks for welcoming me.
Great. So, 1590, that's an amazing score, like a near perfect score. How does it feel?
It feels amazing. Honestly, when I came out of the test, I, w- I either thought the test went really, really well or really, really poorly because of how smooth it was.
Right.
So, and then I opened the college board website on the day and it was a welcome surprise.
Yeah. It must have been. I mean, 1590 is like a very nice score. Very, very nice score. We're very proud of you.
Thank you.
Welcome. So, how do you know that SAT was the right fit for you?
So when I started my college journey in around 10th, I took the Tutela diagnostic test, which you can so you know what test you need to take, either ACT or SAT, and which you're better at naturally. So for me, actually, I got a similar score in both of them. So I think I got around a 32 on the ACT and like a 1350 on the SAT. So from there, it was just basically preference rather than what my like natural capabilities were. And I went with the SAT because it felt a bit smoother and it was more intuitive for me to answer the questions. And I also preferred the format of like the English section better than I liked the ACT one.
So, you had a clarity right in the start.
Yeah, it really helped provide the clarity between the ACT versus SAT question.
Right. So, what was your target score? What were you aiming for?
Right. So in my first attempt, my I didn't really have a goal set in mind. I knew I wanted to get like around a 1550 or a 1560 because that's like the highest tier score you can get. Above that, they all kind of are similar. So my first attempt, I just kept in mind that I need to do well, but it's not the end all be all. And in my first attempt, I got a 1510. So by the time I was in my second attempt, that time I was pretty hard set on my goal. So my goal was, you can say, 1560 because that's the highest tier and that's what translates to a 36 in the ACT.
Alright. So, you basically took two attempts.
Yeah, I took two attempts.
So, in each attempt that you took, like in the first attempt specifically, what were your takeaways that you had in mind that these are the mistakes these are the things that I could go wrong with, and these are the things that I have to keep in mind in my next attempt so that, I don't make the same mistakes, and these are the areas to improve.
So my first attempt, I think the main problem was that I panicked a bit. My first attempt was in a very busy schedule because right after my first attempt, I had my maths board exam, my 10th board exam. So it was a very busy time, and I think some of the prep got a bit compromised because of that busy schedule. So in my first attempt, I got a 780 in English and 730 in maths. So why the 730 in maths was because I got really, really tired by the end of the exam. It's a long exam, a 3 hour long exam. So that was a takeaway, and because I was tired, I wasn't thinking very clearly. I made mistakes, and like if you look at my answer sheet on the college board website, I think I got 6-7 questions wrong in maths, and all of them were like in the last 10-20 questions. So that was a really good takeaway for me, that yes, I do get tired by the end of the exam and I need to concentrate better.
Right. So you said you had your maths board exam, and we know how maths is, crucial subject when you're in your 10th, and you had your SAT exam as well. How did you deal with the pressure? Like, it's very important, for students to understand that yes, academics is a part of your career and your journey ahead, and yes, standardized test is also a part, but then there is a point where they cannot deal with the pressure enough, and they sort of lose on both ends of career goals. So how did you deal with the pressure?
That's a very good question, because especially with the math exam, it was my 10th grade exam, so I think a lot of syllabus did overlap with the SAT. And since this was like the anomaly year where it was an MCQ based uh, board paper, so I think it played to my strengths. And with regards to priority, I went into the SAT with like no pressure, because I knew that I could take the SAT again 2-3 times if I wanted to. But the board exam is once, and that result stays there, and arguably it is more important than your SAT marks.
Right. So that is the best part of, starting early, and also best part of taking standardized tests, that you can take it again, but you should not compromise on the academics end. So, which section gave you a tough time?
So in my second attempt, no section really gave me a tough time. It was, I think, the English reading essay, or the 6 essays, all of them really played to my strengths. Because sometimes you can get a bit unlucky there if you like misunderstand a passage. You can get like 3-4 questions of those 11 questions wrong. But I like understood every passage really well, and that's like something you do have a bit of luck involved in. But I think through like rigorous practice, I was at a stage where I didn't like misunderstand any passages. So I got one question wrong in my reading, and in reading the curve was a really difficult curve this time. So losing one question in reading didn't actually get any marks cut, and then I lost one question in grammar. So those are the mistakes I made on my second one. And on my first one, it was really maths, because I was also in 10th grade at the time. So I was a bit sloppy with maths, especially because of the lockdown, not having much practice. So during the first time it was maths, and during the second time I don't think I had much trouble with any of them.
Of course, your score says that you didn't have trouble. So, what measures did you take to ensure you gave 100% on the test?
So to give 100% on the test, I first went in. I After my first attempt, I knew that I needed to be calm, because I did panic in my math section on the first time. So basically, I went in with like a no pressure mentality. I kept myself calm. Uh, I made sure I was hydrated and all of that. So like, I was basically, I basically first ensured that physically there was nothing lacking. Like I was well rested, I wasn't hungry, I wasn't thirsty. So all of that is really important, obviously. And then my mentality was like, I can do this. I didn't need to panic. I basically went in there like there was no stakes attached. And another thing I did to give my 100% on the exam was, after my first attempt, I knew that I would get tired by the math section. So I bought this little bottle of coffee, and between the English and math section, I like chugged it down. Like that, like refreshed me, gave me a bit of energy to slog through the math section. And I think that really helped me too, because like the caffeine, it makes you concentrate a bit better.
So basically, not the journey is not the same for every person, and the test you take is not the same for every person. So you need to sort of analyze how what works best for you, and the measures that you take has to be those. So did you face any test the anxiety? Wouldn't call it anxiety for you, because since you have mentioned that it was you went with a calm head, but still 1% of having the jitters.
So obviously, at the start of the test, I do tend to get a bit nervous. But once you like get in the flow, and after you have done a bunch of full length tests, FLTs, uh, you basically get into the groove. And from there, your concentration is on the test, rather than, oh, I'm nervous, or what will happen. So basically, just like putting my head down, getting to it, and basically not thinking that there are any stakes attached, because that's what really helps. If you just think you're doing it for fun, uh, you won't have any anxiety. And I think if you have practice doing full length tests, then that also really helps you, because that puts you in that groove of just continuing and going through the test.
So how did the FLTs and sectionals helped you in achieving, what you did?
I think FLTs were the most important part in the prep journey, because if you think about it, the SAT isn't a very very difficult test in the way like an AP is. So your main focus is to ace the test, not the syllabus, because the syllabus you can cover. It's the test format, the time, and that everything like that you get through practice from FLTs. And I think this during the second time, the first time it was during COVID, so I didn't have in-person FLTs. I had online, but during the second time I came to the center and I did in-person FLTs. That also really helped because it had that like exam center like vibe to it, which like, and that also helps prevent like test jitters. And like in FLTs, obviously, you can identify your mistakes, work on those mistakes, work on those types of questions, and basically you build an instinct for the test the same way you would like practice like an instrument or play like a sport. You basically start building an instinct for the SAT through the FLTs.
How did Tutela help you with your entire journey?
uh, Tutela was involved throughout the entire journey. I started with Tutela by taking the diagnostic, and I did both my attempts through them. And all the teachers that helped me through the process, all the teachers were great. They were like always present to like answer any question, and like just comfort us generally. So that was obviously great. And I think the way that Tutela prepared me for the SAT by first teaching the syllabus and then doing FLTs, that was also great. So basically by working with Tutela, I think you aren't surprised by anything that comes in the SAT because you've practiced so many questions of each type, and especially the types you have problems with, that you aren't like surprised by any question. And so that it just builds that familiarity with the exam.
It's great to hear that. So, lastly, what are your future plans?
My future plans are just to work on my extracurriculars, get good predicteds. It's very academic right now, working on like studying for the APs that I'm going to give this summer, and working obviously through the 11th grade syllabus, which is quite a lot. It's quite a step up from the difficulty of 10th grade. And basically to work on my extracurriculars and then apply to I'm going to be applying to the UK and the US. So basically work through that process right now. That's my main goal.
All right. We hope you do well, and obviously, our best wishes are with you. Thank you so much for doing the podcast today. It was great having you.
Thank you, and thank you to the entire Tutela faculty for helping me through this process. Thank you.
Always. So, with this, we end our today's podcast. I hope you found it interesting, and if you did, don't forget to like it and share it ahead. Don't forget to subscribe and share it ahead. Have a good day, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye bye.